So a month ago, I was writing a script for an ad and I was tinkering with Midjourney on the side. And I was telling the writers, I have a bad feeling about this AI thing. Okay, we need to start looking it up. And then in the script, usually the process is we write a script and then there's something called a pre-production meeting with the client where, the director comes on board, costume designer, set designer, all of them come. And they all go through the script and whatever their interpretation is, they pitch to the client saying, hey, this is what the set will look like. This is what the costume looks like. This is how the lighting will be. Then there's a storyboard artist who comes and, hand draws frame by frame. So I looked at the writers and I said, can we do this on our own? Now this film involved Dhoni. Okay. So I said, okay, let's go through the script. And then we start punching it in Midjourney, saying, okay, mid-shot, Indian Sarkari office, Dhoni dressed up as a bank officer, wearing a white shirt with this tie, and it spit out this image. And I looked at this and I said, holy shit, like the writer is the director, is the costume designer, is the set designer, is the storyboard artist. The writer can do everything. If you have vision, and that's when I called you, said, Varun, this AI thing, we should deep dive into it. You were far deeper into it already and you were already in doomer mode.
Story for why I started this podcast is very different. I turned 30 this year and I was like, what does every sane 30-year-old man do on the internet? Start a podcast. So, we're here. Our goal is very simple. Our goal is not do this like a traditional podcast, but show and tell. Every week, there's new stuff coming out. There's cool stuff coming out. Let's take that content. Let's see if we can recreate some of that content. Let's see if we can pull off stunts. We're all going to do this from a very altruistic thing. We just want you to see the newest technology. And if you can see the newest technology and you feel, wow, I've learned something out of this. Wow, this is blowing my mind. Wow, I want to enter this field. Then, well, we've done our job.
Yeah. For me, it is, I would be doing this with you anyway. Let's just put 3 cameras and see what comes out of it.
Yeah.
Anyway, so the format is pretty simple. What we're going to do is we're going to go through all the new stuff that happened in the world of AI every week, or maybe more than a week. So let's just get into it. What happened in this week in AI, Varun? You are the AI enthusiast on this, so please take us through.
Awesome. So we have a deck. We have a slide deck. And the first thing, Tanmay, that I want to tell you about is, it's going to sound scary. How many ad films have you written which have VFX in it?
Most of them have some element of VFX in it.
Okay, and you know the VFX process, right? I've done a little bit of VFX. It's basically make the character in Blender, okay? Rig and animate that character. Usually the animations are hand done. Like 10 years ago, it was hand done. Now it's like motion capture. You make somebody wear a motion capture suit. Export all of that to your favorite renderer. If it's Blender, it's Blender. Most people bring it to Unreal Engine. You match the lighting, you match the colors. You make sure it looks like it's part of the scene, right? And then
the only thing you missed was step 1, which is beg for budget.
Beg for budget. Yes. Which is, if you want to do a VFX shot, from my understanding, it would cost you like, I don't know, you can't do it in less than 25-30 lakhs, right? At least in a good ad film. And that's an ad film. That's like 2 minutes max of content, right? Well, it turns out a new technology has come out called Wonder Dynamics Wonder Studio. So the name of the company is Wonder Dynamics. The name of the tech is Wonder Studio, where it's one click, zero budget. It's one click, zero budget.
Is there an example here?
Yeah, there's an example. Let's play the video.
Hello, human. I am here to visit all of you guys here today. It's all kinds of crazy stuff with us here. What am I gonna be doing next? Right?
It's getting facial expressions right too.
All kinds of dance party stuff. Yeah. I don't even know anymore. Yeah. Come at me.
That's pretty insane. So it got lighting right. It got movement, facial expression right. And surprisingly, this AI also got hands right.
Yeah.
The only thing it didn't get right is it made him naked as an alien. So it can't detect clothes yet.
Yeah. So if you want a 3D model with clothes on, then you'll have to,
I was making a joke and being sarcastic, but thanks. This is going to be a tough one to get through. I just realized.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So I'll tell you the coolest thing, okay? It's so cool, or it's so easy that we could probably replace you in this podcast with an AI character. Can we do that? Can we try that?
Hello. What are you replacing me as? I'm a robot.
Yeah, you're probably a robot.
If I move around, if I do a little dance.
Hey, by the way, you should replace him with a girl, okay? Like one of those girls or whatever. Like there's these 3D
What
girls.
the fuck?
No, you say you're
Am
a robot.
I a girl right now? Guys,
Okay, let's get back.
so have you used Wonder Dynamics yet?
Yeah, we've used Wonder Dynamics. Like it's pretty cool. We haven't used it for a video yet. We haven't used it for a shoot yet. But the tech's in front of us. In fact, it's so confusing, right? I always thought if you have all this tech in front of you, suddenly you're going to use it and suddenly you're going to be miraculous like a week later. In fact, it takes a little bit of time and it takes a little bit of getting used to, right? Because you're like, oh, I have this godlike magical tech in front of me, but I don't know what to do with it, right? It's like no one's given me an ad film right now, and anything like, you know that you can force fit things into things that don't need it, right?
Correct,
So you can go to your next ad film and you can tell Cred, boss, we'll put a 3D CGI character in this, but it will seem like a force fit. So everything feels like a force fit, right? With this, so it's more like waiting for the right opportunity. But I'm damn sure in the next 1 or 2 weeks something's going to come out which uses this technology. And eventually, this technology is going to allow you to upload your own 3D models. Right now, they have their own roster of 3D models.
Got it. So this alien that we saw was, they have it.
So all the demos you'll see like an alien, a robot. They have like these 3-4 standard characters. My fear, or not fear, my interest area is I think this will allow you to create a lot of 3D cartoons. Like if you remember, there was a 3D cartoon on Cartoon Network. So first they made Ben 10 as like a 2D drawn series. Then they made a 3D series out of it. I don't know if you remember watching it. I was very young, right? That stuff gets really easy because I know the kind of effort that would have gone into making a full series, like 30 minutes into 10 episodes. That's done. And if you remember TV series in general, right? Like if you've seen, there's that TV series called Teen Wolf, right? Or even the Superman, there's a Superman X Lois Lane series that's going on CW right now. They reserve their budget for the last episode. Have you noticed that trend?
They'll blow their load on the last episode.
Yeah. So they're like, hey, we'll build up, last episode budget.
Yeah, Game of Thrones, every season episode 9. That's what it was.
Yeah. So the budget is lopsided there. But now you have this scenario where if the budget is no longer a constraint,
correct,
you have everything. And in fact, that actually in a way makes the market better because every young kid who has an idea that I want to do this cool thing, I want Batman to fight the Flash and then to fight Spider-Man, can just do it.
Yeah.
Right?
I think an immediate application will be if I can shoot this on any camera and turn myself into any 3D model, like people no longer need to be themselves on social media.
Yeah.
Right? It'll be the first application where I'm now an alien and this is my Instagram, and now I'm basically every video that I put up, I don't need to show myself.
Have you played a game called VR Chat?
No.
Because this is exactly that.
Oh, this is on Oculus.
Yeah, on the Oculus.
Yeah, I've seen it.
So you have these avatars and
correct,
you can be Goku, you can be anything you want.
Yeah.
And people don't know who they're talking to. The problem with that is that you can also be super abusive because our identity kind of inhibits us. Like my identity, the fact that I know I'm me, means that I will be a sane, normal person because I will always think, what will people think of me, right? On the street and on the internet because my name and my face is attached. Have you seen anonymous accounts on Twitter?
Yes.
They can get really nasty.
Yes,
right?
correct.
So I feel like if everyone's given a mask, you create like this bad environment and there's no concept of policing.
So you used Wonder Dynamics in, like, I saw a clip that you posted on Twitter. So tell me the process, like how long did it take you to turn yourself into that robot?
It took me the equivalent of moving my mouse to a button saying generate and left click that button.
And it matches lighting and everything.
Everything. It uses AI to detect what the kind of lighting is. So basically, if you look at lighting in general, right, I'll tell you how it's done in the CG world. I'm sure you know this, but for the people that are listening, let's say you have a real shot. Let's say I'm here and then we have this area and let's say you want a CG character in front of you. You pretend like there's a CG character in front of you. Then what you do is the director or somebody comes with something called a chrome ball.
Correct.
Right? You come with a chrome ball and the chrome ball has the reflections of all the lights.
Correct.
And you can also do this, like the cheap man's way of doing this is to use Google Maps, Google Street View. You can take Google Street View. Google Street View has something called 360 sphere.
Correct.
Okay, so you can stand in the middle of wherever you want to have that, the lighting match. And you could take this 360 sphere, like you take like 10 photos or whatever, it stitches it together and you download that HDRI. Okay. Now that you download the HDRI, you can use that as an environment in Blender or whatever. Right? So the lighting matches the real world. And often you don't need to do anything more than that. So I feel like this is doing sort of the same thing, but it's using AI. It knows from everyone on the scene. Like it knows from the lighting on Tanmay who's already in the scene, maybe there's a light here. Because the pixel on Tanmay's left seems to be brighter than the pixel on Tanmay's right? So it's guessing and it's doing a great job of guessing.
Yeah, you don't need that chrome ball anymore. In fact, I saw a clip on Twitter where two people are fighting.
Yeah.
And one person becomes a robot automatically. Like there's no chrome ball, nothing. It's just they're just genuinely fighting and they just replaced it.
Yeah.
So this is like usable today at this scale already. Like the next step is you should be able to turn into anything.
Yeah.
Where on the curve do you think we are? Like how far away?
6 months.
6 months?
3 to 6 months. Yeah.
Anyone will be able to upload their 3D models and you can turn into.
Yeah. You can already do it. There's an app on your phone called Luma. I don't know if you've seen it. You can just download this app called Luma where you can take 360 photos of somebody. Like you basically, it's not a photo. Basically, you use LiDAR on the phones that support LiDAR.
You can map their face.
Map their face. So you get this 3D bust of that person.
Yeah.
And you can just transpose that into Unreal MetaHuman. There's already a way to do this.
Correct.
So you have this model of the person with the exact face structure. And it looks like that person. And eventually it's going to be one click. You know, live streamers have this problem, right? And I've seen this with Samay, I've seen this with you as well. Sometimes you just wake up. And you're like, yaar, I need to comb my hair, I need to take a shower, whatever. But imagine if you're just able to click a button and it looks exactly like you, but a slightly 3D version. And in fact, you could also remove the 3D out of it. You can do a neural net completely trained on what it looks like to be you. Essentially, you're deep faking yourself, right?
And it's the next level of laziness.
Yeah.
It's deep faking yourself.
Yeah, because like I remember somebody put out a tweet about Clubhouse a long time ago, saying that the problem with Clubhouse is, the good part about Clubhouse is, unlike a live stream, I don't need to get ready.
Correct.
Right? So you can just, whatever, you can be tired and you can just press a button. And one of the repercussions of this is you are always going to look your current age. The age when you made the model, because nobody will update it. Did you know this? Like, okay, pop quiz. How old is the Zepto founder?
Like 19 or something?
That was 3 years ago.
Oh, fuck, yeah.
Right? People got stuck.
People got stuck, yeah.
So during the pandemic, anything that was said, like ages especially, just got stuck.
Yeah.
And then you wake up one day and you're like, oh, these people are much older now.
So everyone is going to be catfishing.
Yeah, everyone's going to be catfishing. Everyone's going to be permanently young. But then you meet them in real life, they're old, you know. If you've seen that Black Mirror episode.
I'm sitting in front of you. There's no reason to be rude right now. All right, next. AutoGPT.
Yeah. So AutoGPT.
Breathe.
Yeah.
Take your time.
This stuff is scarier than the previous stuff.
Yeah.
So there's a book by Ray Kurzweil, okay? It's called The Singularity. And Ray Kurzweil is this crazy guy from Google, super old now, who used to take like all these pills. And he used to be like, I don't know if the story is true, but this is the story I've heard, okay?
The legend.
He's taken all these pills and he's like, I want to live for at least another 30 years because we're going to reach this point called the singularity where then you are able to figure out unlimited life extension for me. So the pills, or the singularity rather, is a concept where tech is able to build more tech by itself and you reach this virtuous spiral that goes faster than any human can comprehend. Okay? And one of the preconditions for a technological singularity is code being able to write other code. Right? I would use the word self-modifying, but it's not really self-modifying. It's slave-modifying. Which means, let's say there's a GPT, and what AutoGPT does is, I can tell AutoGPT, I have a task. Let's say I want to make InShots, right? The app. And we did that, right? Just make a short app, right? And take the top 5 news of the week. And I'm just giving this like plain text instructions. It will do everything after that. It'll go to the web, find all the top 5 news, summarize the top 5 news, save it to a text file. Then by itself, it will go to, it will itself write React code and it will say, okay, this is the front end, this is the UI UX. It will build out the UI UX. It will build out the back end. It will put everything together, right? And it will essentially just spit out code that you can now just deploy. And eventually the deployment will be easier as well. And having written code for 17 years now, this is one of those things that scare me. Because there is a lot of malicious use, right, of something like this. Because you can tell it anything and it will find the best way to do it. Like OpenAI or GPT has been trained theoretically on millions of web pages, right? Probably billions of web pages, right? Are you telling me that not a single web page has the nuclear launch codes?
I fucking hope not.
I'm sure some guy's written it, right? And obviously the nuclear launch codes is a little different because you still need to go physically to the console and type it in. But even if you put it encrypted, Okay, GPT, and you can just put in like reverse text. You can put in text, but the other way around in GPT, right? And it'll jumble it for you. It'll know you're sending it a puzzle, and it'll reassemble it
Yeah,
for
GPT
you.
can decrypt something.
Yeah, it can decrypt something, and you don't even need to tell it decrypt this. You can just be like, hey, here's the text. That's it, and just ask it for a response.
Tell me something. When you saw AutoGPT for the first time, like, because when I saw AutoGPT, my first reaction was, oh, so this, I can also, if I can learn just how to understand code or just the basics of it, I should also be able to turn text into code now.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it can enable anyone to be able to build their own website, their own, scale of the app, a small scale app. Why are you this way where you thought nuclear code? Why are you like this is the question.
So 3 ways to look at it, okay? I'll tell you actually there's 2 ways to look at this main thing of it's going to allow everyone to code. One is a lot of people think, okay, more coders, that's great. That, more cool technology entering the world, that's probably true. My worry is when you have godlike technology and you give access to the godlike technology to anybody, that's cool, that's a good thing. But I feel like good people and good and bad are a spectrum, right? But good people generally don't do bad things, right? They're like, I have this godlike technology, I must preserve it. Like driving a car.
Correct.
Like a car is a scrap of metal. It's a weapon, if you really think about it, right?
Yeah.
And you can just, if you really wanted to, you can just swerve into the street and kill a pedestrian. But you're responsible now. You will go to jail.
Correct.
Right? If you do that. But something like AutoGPT, where nobody can
Unless you're a
See
movie star, whatever.
Yeah, unless
I thought of that joke and I said, should I say it? Anyway, go on. Continue.
No, keep that in. So you can't swerve into somebody. But with GPT, if people don't know it's you can just run it on somebody else's computer, right? Like till today, we don't know 90% of the people who run like a Pirate Bay or something like that.
This is my driver. My driver was not. Anyway. Yeah, so that is one. But I was imagining how, like, I have a friend who's a designer who freelances on the side making websites for people. And this friend of mine, he works with a developer to build the websites, right? So now he was telling me saying, "Oh, dude, now I don't need to split my revenue with the developer. Now I'm able to use GPT."
Let me give you a reverse Uno card there. There's a guy in Bangladesh now, 17-year-old, who has no expenses, who can do what your friend does now, essentially, including the design part, for 1/10 the price.
Correct.
So you have this supply-demand thing, right? You're inflating supply.
Yeah.
Everyone can do it.
No, but it won't be like, so your core skill of what you're really good at, like I think correct me if I'm wrong, AI can enhance your core skill.
Make you 100x.
Like me on AutoGPT is not as good as you on AutoGPT.
Yeah.
Right? So every person becomes like that, like a FIFA character, right? You click on them and speed is 90, dribble is 78, and power is this much. So depending on what your core skill is, AI can take it to that next level and bring you up to the very basics on other skills.
Yeah. My worry is not that. My worry is I think 90% of the world is not extremely good at anything. Like Kunal Shah keeps putting up tweets about inefficiency, right? Inefficiency runs the world. Most people are hired in an inefficient role. The problem if you have a platform that can give you 10, 180 IQ or 160 IQ interns who can do anything you want, never tire, this, that, I'm talking digital work, I'm not talking about physical work right now, is you'll have the top 1% obviously do a spectacular job, right? If you're the top 1% in your field, and I would debate with you about me being better on AutoGPT than you, because you would use AutoGPT in a completely different way, right? Like I'd make very, very specific types of apps with AutoGPT. You'd probably make different types of apps. You'd make apps that are valuable creatively, or maybe a joke generator. Like, I'm just giving you an example. I would never do that, right? So I feel like it's a different set of ideas which have come from your life experiences. So I feel like that shapes the ideas you will generate with AutoGPT. But I think that the problem is 90% of the world isn't that good, right? And that's the problem. The top 1%, 10%, whatever, will obviously be successful. In fact, they're going to become 100 times more successful. The other 90% is who I'm worried about. And the other 90% is who I'm constantly, saying, what can we do about these people? Can somebody think about these people? Because nobody is. And everyone on Twitter has this narrative that, it's all going to be fine. You'll just become 10 times better. Actually, you don't. You won't. Right? There's no reason for you to become 10 times better because the people at the top are going to try to take everything. Like today, a top VC would be in like N number of companies, right? Would have value accretion from N number of companies, much more than, let's say, I would have or you would have, right? So I feel like it makes the rich or the intellectual, like truly intellectual, the people who can execute 10 times better, and it makes the median or the average just lose out on whatever average job they could have gotten. That's my worry. Like now you have no choice but to be like a sports level athlete in your space. Like you don't have no choice but to be in the top level. It's like football, right? Like you have 1 million people in let's say Argentina who can play football, but 11 plus substitutes make it to the main team.
But what happened after the industrial revolution and the information age? Like once Web 2 came in, mobile came in, like the fear was the same, right?
Yeah.
Which is that a lot of jobs will go away, etc., etc. So either there'll be newer jobs. I was watching the Lex Friedman, Sam Altman. I think something similar that he also said, which is either there'll be newer jobs or it will enable like the mediocre will have somewhere to go.
See, this is what I disagree with people on, right? And by the way, I want to mention again that these are opinions. These are my opinions. I could be wrong.
Yeah, Varun is max doomer. Okay.
Yeah. Like
That's
if
the reason why I'm on this podcast, for
balance.
for balance.
Yeah. So I have to mention again and again that this is an opinion. These are my opinions. I could be wrong. I've been wrong in the past. But it's worth thinking about this because if somebody can like at least prepare, then good, right? If it happens, you have somebody who's built the barricades. I don't think you can still practice a craft by yourself. Like think about what happens to footballers, right? If you don't make it the top 11 plus 5, you can play football. You can absolutely play football. You can use it for enjoyment. You can use it for exercise. But do you make money off of it? No. Right? In fact, Elon is of the opinion that money itself will become much less useful if, it gets accrued into just the hands of the few, which is already happening, by the way. Like a lot of people, like my comments have this, right? Where they say, if only 1% people have the money, then how's the economy going to run? Actually, it already runs like that. Like 10% of India drives almost the entirety of the rest, right? You've seen that graph of India 1, India 2, India 3. So it's like this, right? You could be a real estate don. Like you could own 100 pieces of real estate. You can have infinite money. The projects that you will run, constructing those properties, the number of people you need to hire for that, laborers, this, that, whatever, by yourself, you're generating an insane amount of employment compared to the average person.
Yeah, this is how wealth distribution also works.
Yeah, it's power law, right? Yeah. Standard power law. So what is going to happen with AI is you're just going to have like this much stronger power law. And the best way to look at it is to look at sports or esports or anything. Like you value teams, millions of players play Valo, but how many people make it to the the big leagues, right? You have to be absolutely the best. So I feel that's going to happen. But I also feel like we can't let society crumble, right? It's weird, right?
Because we can't let society crumble?
Yeah, we can't let society crumble, right? Cool. So government is going to come in and say, okay, we'll do UBI. The problem is UBI in India, like if you do the household, you just do per capita GDP and then divided by 12. Per household, you come up with a number about 9,000.
$9,000 per month.
Per month per household.
That's 4 Long Island iced teas. That's enough.
Yeah, I mean, that's good for, let's say, somebody on the street, right? Because you have to be equal. You can't say, oh, you used to be rich, you used to be a programmer, therefore take this much money, right? Therefore you deserve 35. We have to be equal to everyone, right? My problem is your top-rated artist who used to be on ArtStation creating cool stuff, maybe paid for it at a game studio, now making zero is not going to be very happy with 9,000 UBI. Right, so I don't think UBI is the way out, but we digressed.
So who made AutoGPT?
Some random guy on GitHub. Some random guy. He just used GPT, used the API, and then just said, "Hey, what if GPT was able to recursively call itself by modifying the prompts on the new calls that it's making about itself? And what if you just gave it an executor? What if you said, okay, give it access to all the Python scripts? Now there's a new thing that's come out called Jarvis."
Yeah.
That allows you to use all Hugging Face models. So now if you want, like you can just send Jarvis a picture and be like, upscale this 4x. And it'll find the right model. And the Hugging Face is a library of models, by the way. And it'll find the right model and just be like, this upscaler we should use here. eventually you're going to have a super agent, and it's not like 10 years away. It's like 6 months away, right? Eventually, one of the like an Apple.
Sorry,
or Google,
what is an agent? I keep seeing the word agent on Twitter. What is an agent?
an agent is someone that does something for you.
Okay.
In this context, so like Siri could be a voice agent.
Correct. And what is an LLM? What is the difference between an LLM and an agent?
So a large language model, think of it like, so they've collected scores and scores and scores of data across the internet, text data, and they've modified it into this sequence of prompt and response. Okay?
Got it.
And they've shown this model to a computer so many times that eventually the computer is, or they've shown this data to the computer so many times that the computer is not, like a lot of people think it's copy pasting. It's not copy pasting. It has started to learn the underpinnings
Of why this was made, how this was made.
Yeah.
And then there's a great podcast of Dharmesh on the My First Million where he talks about vector embeddings.
Yeah.
Which is understanding the distance between two
words.
ideas.
Yeah.
And matching them with meaning and not just calculating the distance between them.
Yeah. So this is the ingeniosity behind this is something called transformers. Okay. And something called attention. So there's a paper that came out called Attention is All You Need. Very clickbaity title, but it's a cool paper. The idea is this, right? Like if you have a sentence, and one of the biggest use cases for transformers is language translation. Okay. It used to be language translation. You take English, convert it into Kannada, whatever, convert it into Hindi, whatever. But if you take an English statement and convert it into Hindi, let's say, I am a cow. In Hindi, it's not, the word order is different. It's
Correct.
It's not exactly that. It's main guy who, right? So the word order changes. And you can't just say, okay, I'm going to take every single word and swap it out with the other word. So you need to know the meaning between words. You need to know in every sentence, what is the focus word? Like cow would be the focus word. And you need to understand the statement as a whole rather than individually. Right? And to do that, you need to map out words. You need to have enough training data, whatever. GPT is a generative pre-trained transformer. So it's like a transformer, the same technology that I'm talking about, but trained on lots and lots and lots of data.
So this is why Midjourney got sued, which is that Midjourney is an LLM.
No, Midjourney is not an LLM. It probably uses something called diffusion, right?
Okay, got it.
But it like same process.
Same process, which is mapping out lots and lots and lots of data, studying it, and then using an input, studying this data, and giving an output.
Yeah.
So what happens to like whose data is being used to train an LLM, especially if it's a centralized company like OpenAI.
Yeah.
They are using, whose data are they using to train their model?
Yeah.
And
is it legal?
And or is this the meeting of AI and crypto, wherein if it's your data being used to train a model, then you should own a piece of the upside of the model?
It's tricky. I'll tell you why. It's not really copy and paste. It's not like it's taking 10 pictures and it's saying, okay, I will take a little bit of picture one, I'll take a little bit of picture two. It is learning the underpinnings of what makes a good cow or whatever you're prompting for. If you look at the oldest versions of these picture generation algorithms, there's one called based on the CIFAR 10 data set, which is from 5 years ago. Okay, Andre Kapati had put out a tweet about this. You look at the outcomes of those pictures. It was trained on 32x32 size. Okay, you can make out like car parts. You can make out wheels. It's a very blurry this thing. And if you look at Midjourney today, you can get like a Deadpool with like Deadpool in the puddle. It looks really good. So I feel like it's picking out patterns. And if you look at the history of AI, or if you look at the history of image generators from that CIFAR 10 to, let's say, if you look at DALL-E Mini, if you remember DALL-E Mini, and all of those, it's just been getting better at picking out patterns. The problem is, and the reproduction rate is very low. Like it'll almost never reproduce an original picture as is. It's the reproduction rate, if I remember correctly, for Stable Diffusion is 1.something%, which is negligible. So the ethical dilemma here is, yes, you have used artist's work, but fundamentally you're looking at this artist's work and you're learning from it. It's like me looking at, let's say, some really good artist and I'm like, oh, I'm learning from this. Okay?
But yeah, recreating their style.
Yeah, recreating the style. But you can also learn that, right? Like every artist is inspired. Inspiration is always available. Like Pixar probably inspired the next generation of artists. The Lion King has so many movies after it that were inspired by the Lion King style.
No, but say Pixar, right?
Yeah.
this brings us to brand, and brand is the moat in the world of AI. Say Pixar. Now, every time I go on Midjourney and I output, say, hey, my face as a Pixar character.
Yeah.
Shouldn't Pixar get a piece of the upside on that?
No, because you're not saying, I mean, Pixar is the brand, okay? But you're saying in Pixar style.
Style.
Yeah, so you're copying Pixar's style. And so far, we have never sued anybody for copying somebody's style. Like DMX, the artist, once sued somebody, I don't remember which artist, because DMX has this gruff, like this, he does this dog thing in his voice, right? And he sued somebody for it. And he didn't win. He lost in arbitration because it's like, how can you copyright your style? Right? You might have a significant walking swagger, but you can't copyright that. Right? The world would be, an insane place.
The world would know also where X is inspired by.
Yeah. And inspiration is always cool, right? Like even the Beatles, if you look at the Beatles' work, they had a combination of sitar. And then they combined sitar with like the blues. And they combined that with rock. Right? So they really like mash things up. And technically we're mashing things up, right? Like you're a comedian, I'm a computer science engineer, and we're mashing things up. And that's how humans create new things. Right? In fact, there's there are, I don't know how true this is, but the entire character of Goku was probably inspired by Sun Wukong. It's the journey to the east or journey to the west or something like that. And Goku is exactly like Sun Wukong. They both have a tail. They both carry that giant stick, right? Which expands and shrinks with whatever. And they're both like monkey. Like Goku has that, he transforms into a big monkey. But if you read through the history, Sun Wukong was predated by Hanuman. And you had a lot of travelers who would go from like northern India to like China. And same story. It's just a story. Like Son of the Wind, same long stick, same tail, looks like a monkey. We don't know if this is true or not. This is all hearsay, right? But what I'm saying is inspiration travels. I'm sure like this place that we are in right now, somebody was like, oh, this is created by a Singaporean artist. Like the interiors, okay, the Singaporean interior artist. So inspiration travels, and if you block that and say, boss, you're not allowed to take inspiration from something, then you get into
slippery
this
slope.
Yeah, slippery slope. Then you have to sue everyone, because I'm sure there's something in your life that you looked at and were like, this is cool, we should make something like it. Then you're done, right? Because what your brain is doing, the AI is doing. The one counterpoint to that, playing devil's advocate to my own argument, is the computer is just too good, right? A human brain is limited. But then if you start creating these hypothetical things saying, oh, you can only be this good, and then you can, like, you need to be bad and then you're allowed to do
find
this.
a way around.
This is for the disabled, computers to do. And we are like compared to normal computers, we're like much worse. Or this is for the worst computers to do. And our brain is a computer. Then you're creating this artificial, drawing lines. Some people are not going to listen, by the way. Like some people are just going to dump their model weights on GitHub. They're not even, or not GitHub, but like, let's say torrents or Hugging Face. They're not even going to listen to people. And so I don't know.
How many people are you going to sue at the end of the day?
Yeah.
Interesting. All right, next slide. What is this?
So basically, this is for like awkward people who need charisma on demand.
Oh, by the way, do you know what Riz is?
Yeah, I know what this is.
Yeah, I think there's a Kai. What's the name of the streamer? Kai Senat. I don't know how it's pronounced.
Yeah.
He coined the term Riz. Riz is
Swag.
dateable qualities.
Dateable
Like
quality.
how it's almost like a currency.
Yeah.
So how do you acquire it? So I can guess based on this image, which is if you're on a date, and if you're wearing glasses, it can prompt you.
Yeah,
what
you
to
need
say on
AR
the date.
glasses, and let's say it's able to detect sound. And let's say you're sitting across somebody, and you're like, the person said something, and you're not smart enough to think of something. Now the prompt appears in front of you, and you're like, oh yeah, oh yeah, but this whatever. You can have a punchline, you can have a joke every second,
Yeah.
right? But here's the problem with this. I think this is obviously really cool tech, but the form factor doesn't make sense. Like, I have an AR. Like, I don't think India produces AR glasses yet, but this is the Unreal Air.
Correct.
It's super clunky. And if I was wearing this in front of you in a date, that's an auto rejection,
Yeah.
right? I just look like an idiot.
Yeah.
So I don't think this is the right form factor, but the
Of course. But
idea
it's
is
just fucking around, right? Like when I saw GPT for the first time, my first idea was date assist, right? If you're on an app, it'll just spit out the best way to reply to whatever text that you got. And then I started using it in conversation with friends, right? Like, this is a funny response or whatever it is. You had an interesting theory, which is that once GPT came in, Tinder is just bots now.
Yeah.
You can't trust anyone on text anymore because you don't know who's GPTing.
Their images are fake, their text is fake.
Text is fake.
Yeah.
So at this point. So now this is going to ruin dating IRL as well.
Yeah. I think we had a period of time where Tinder was useful, and then it's done. Like we did offline dating for so many decades and eons and whatever.
Yeah.
Tinder, Hinge, Bumble, whatever.
Yeah. Now it's wrecked.
Go back in the real world again.
Yeah. Now I think the way AI is going, you need to build a dating model on top of GitHub,
Yeah.
which is the ultimate proof of mateability.
You know what I'm really excited about? I'm not excited about it. I just want to see what happens. I want to see what happens to people on Shadi.com and Bharat Matrimony, because that's going to be parents. And they're not going to know this information is fake. They're not going to know these profiles are fake.
This is like emotional jamtara. Yeah, they won't know. They won't know if someone's profile, this person looks like this, makes this much money, is eloquent as heck.
I mean, you can just go to Midjourney and be like, Indian man standing among Stanford grads, and just be like, I went to Stanford.
Gorgeous six-pack man. Yeah, that can happen.
Yeah, so my worry is they're going to be very confused, and they've paid money for it.
Yeah.
So, and I, as far as I know, Shadi doesn't curate every profile. So, yeah, they better get their act on, right? So I think, and if
we
you
have dropped so many dangerous ideas on today's episode.
yeah, I mean, this is going to be full of that, right? Nobody's imagining the ideas, and maybe we're prompting, new ideas into the world. But here's the thing, okay? Shadi I can guarantee you, doesn't have enough employees to go through every profile and be like, is this fake? Is this real?
How long before we have tools that can detect if something has been touched by AI?
Who has more incentive?
Who has more
incentive? Is it the people creating these new things? Is it the people
schools.
fighting this?
Schools?
No, not that way. I meant, which of the two parties, the people creating the stuff that makes fake stuff, the people detecting the stuff that makes fake stuff, who has more incentive?
I think there's no single entity that needs one more. I think at some point, like institutions will want to detect.
Yeah.
Like education institutes will want to detect.
Yeah.
The state will want to detect. The state will also want to use.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's a one party thing. Like if you are someone who's faking it, at some point you'll want to detect if someone's faking it to you.
Yeah. I feel this is the problem with offense and defense in general, okay? Offense is instant. And this you'll learn if you're doing martial arts or whatever, right? Offense is instant. Defense takes time to come up, because defense requires strategy. Offense sometimes doesn't require strategy. It's like, let me try this cool thing on Shadi.com and then next day you have it. But defense is like, now I've got to go solve against GPT. Like, I've got to figure out the underpinnings of this LLM.
Just your face, like, now I got to solve against GPT. Fuck. It was bad enough before this that there are too few women and too many men on this website.
So now you got to solve against GPT, which is hard. And plus, to be very honest, I think now I look for spelling mistakes. Right? But GPT can be told to make spelling mistakes, right? Yeah. So it's just it's one guy sitting there and be like, haha, these people have spent 6 months.
Oh, you know what you should look for? You should look for, the true marker of you being the average individual is if at the end of your sentence, there's a space and then a full stop.
Yeah.
Because I think that looks so ugly that GPT will refuse to do that.
No, but you can tell GPT to do that. You can absolutely, that's what I'm saying, right? 6 months, some hacker is sat in his room. He's like, oh yeah, I'm going to make this. It's going to detect these patterns, whatever. And the guy who's on the GPT side is just going to be like, okay, now put a space and then a full stop.
No, I think the reply you'll get is GPT is an AI large language model that is unable to be this dumb.
You know what I'm waiting for with something like this? I'm waiting for the Neuralink chip. By the way, Neuralink is still sci-fi.
I mean, they're doing it on monkeys.
Yeah, but it's still sci-fi. I'll tell you why, okay? I've used an EEG. ECG is the heart one. I've used an EEG and I have hair. So when you put it on, for some reason, it didn't detect anything well. Like the waveform was like almost erratic. And in fact, when I moved my jaw, it used to like reflect. So I don't think it was reflecting what I was thinking, right? Having the Neuralink means you have much cleaner signal, but I don't know if it means much. So it's still in the era of sci-fi. And more importantly, it is a push, not a pull. You can push information by your brainwaves or by your thoughts, to the chip, you can't pull data from the chip. You still need, so the inputs to us are eyes, ears, touch. I mean, our senses, right?
Yeah.
And we have more than 5 senses, by the way. Even things like balance, like, are a sense.
Are you referring to our sixth sense?
No, there are lots more. There are lots more, okay? And like, for example, vestibular balance is like a sense. So what I was saying was, we can push, not pull. So I think you'll be able to think of a thought and then give GPT, but you still need some device to be like, oh, you thought about this, here's your response. The response won't come into your brain directly, right? So it's a one-way device.
Got it.
Right? That's my problem with Neuralink, but...
Oh, that's your problem with Neuralink. That's my problem.
But it's still sci-fi. Like, would you get a surgery?
For Neuralink?
Yeah.
Fuck no.
Why?
I don't know. You get it first. Why should I get it? You get it. We'll see.
Yeah. But
you want to get the Neuralink surgery. You want to put it in your head.
I don't know. Like, I want to see somebody else do it.
Yeah, we're going to reach, like, we're still not there yet where the overload of AI, like, yaad hai wo din jab tum khud sochte the. Like, we're not there yet. But we'll probably get there soon. Like, I remember using GPT-3. In fact, just yesterday I was looking at Edit. I was with Sahil Bloom. This is before GPT-4 came out.
Yeah.
And all the discussions we had about ChatGPT on that had to get edited out. Because I was like, everything has changed in the 2 months between recording it and, editing it, that everything has entirely changed. So, who the fuck knows in 6 months? All right. Let's
go to the next thing. Okay, this is something called multi-agent hide and seek. This is a bit old. This is from OpenAI. This is not to do with LLMs. This is nothing to do with their image detection algorithms. They just made like this fake world and they made these agents play hide and seek with each other. Okay, I want you to watch the video.
Today, we ask if comparably simple rules and multi-agent competition can also lead to intelligent behavior in a new virtual world. These agents are playing hide and seek. These agents have just begun learning, but they've already learned to chase and run away. This is a hard world for a hider who has only learned to flee. However, after training in millions of rounds of hide and seek, the hiders find a solution. The hiders learn to use rudimentary tools to their advantage. By grabbing and locking these blocks, they can create their own shelter. The seekers are locked in place for a brief period at the start of the game, giving hiders a chance to prepare. Even so, the hiders must learn to collaborate, accomplishing tasks that would be impossible for any single individual. The hiders are not the only ones who can learn to use tools. After many generations of failing to break into the shelter, the seekers learn to jump over obstacles using ramps. However, after many millions of rounds of having their shelter breached, the hiders learn to take away the primary tool the seekers have at their disposal.
So what did you get from that?
That given a scenario, agents will always find a loophole.
Cheating. Yeah.
Will figure out a way to cheat, which is why it's giving agents any form of autonomous control is generally scary because they'll figure out a way. Like if I told an agent, listen, I need $100,000 by tomorrow, figure it out.
Bank run.
Yeah.
It'll short something.
It'll short something. It'll figure something out. It'll go fucking tweet scary shit on my behalf. And, it can potentially pull off a bank run, right?
Yeah.
And that is scary.
I have a question. In the real world, if you get an agent like this and make it cheat, how much of it do you think is like engineering, like actual engineering? How much of it do you think is social engineering? For example, if you were to engineer a social scam, in the sense, if you were to go, how would you create a bank run? You'd go send a message to Jason, you'd go send a message to David Sachs, all the others, and just, tell them something super believable. And GPT will get to a point where it can do that. And just trigger enough of them to go, blast something out and then short that stock beforehand.
Yeah.
Right? How much of it would be engineering, finding a loophole in like, let's say, we had a bug many years ago in the 2000s, or how much of it would be exploiting floating points? How much of it would be just telling Jason, bro, tomorrow.
Yeah, are you asking me for the ratio of social engineering or finding arbitrage?
Yeah, like how would you do it?
Cause a bank run?
No, not cause a bank run. Like if you were to cheat, or let's say you want to make money, how much of it do you think requires social skill? How much of you think requires like hacking? I assume most banks are secure.
It would need a bit of both.
What's the easier way?
Hacking skills, I think. Do you think so?
I mean, I would try the hacking skills. I would assume they'd be secure. But I think the easier way is still social engineering.
Social engineering.
Right? How much do you really need in India, let's say, to get the top 30 finance influencers to tweet something?
How much money?
Yeah. Will it be less than than the money you make shorting a stock? No.
No.
Yeah. So it makes
Yeah.
this thing sense. But again, that's a malicious idea.
So
Don't do it.
The thought that was going in my head was that social engineering would be easier depending on which scenario you're applying it to. Like with older people, if you have even basic levels of social engineering.
WhatsApp forward.
WhatsApp forward. Or Jamtara, right? Jamtara is all about, it's fully social engineering.
Yeah.
So yeah, depending on the amount of money that you need, social engineering should be able to
Yeah.
get you through. Fuck, like this is going to be like, now imagine this an agent applied to a physical object,
Yeah.
in applying it to manufacturing,
Yeah.
where you've set up 5 factories and then you get agents to start working in them. And then 3 days later, the agent has a report on your table saying, actually, we've been doing it all wrong.
Yeah.
If we construct a bridge between A to B,
Yeah.
this will improve productivity. And instead of giving me wheels, why don't you just give me like this vacuum suction thing where I can just go
Yeah.
from here to here?
On that note, there is this new paper that came out recently. Can we put it up on screen? Where they took 25 GPT-based agents, put them in a simulated town, and they just made them talk to each other. And by the end of it, they hosted a Valentine's Day party for each other. And people
Wow,
watching
they're
it,
falling in love. They're dating.
yeah, people watching it from outside couldn't rate the GPT version as less human than the human version. They also made humans role play separately, and people couldn't tell. You know what my worry is? Actually, 2 worries, right? Like not worries, but like hypotheticals. Let's say you play a game. Let's say what's your favorite single player game?
I'm playing Valo right now.
Single player.
Oh,
Let's say Red Dead Redemption,
yeah,
or GTA or something.
Red Dead Redemption, yeah.
Imagine you kill somebody, and 6 months later, or like whatever, a while later, you come back to the town and they're all celebrating a funeral for that person.
That's pretty nuts.
That's nuts.
Yeah.
Right. So
Yeah, I mean, games will start using GPT immediately because you don't need to script for NPCs anymore.
yeah, but that's for dialogue. I think having GPT agents interact creates like these weird things. You know what I think the best use case of this is?
Fuck, every open world game is now role play. It's GTA 5 role play.
Yeah, and it's like people can interact, people come up with new missions for you. It's crazy. In fact,
it's you can have your own second life. You can literally create a world where everybody else in that world is self-sufficient and in every way, and you choose to be a part of that world whenever you feel like.
In fact, here's a stunt idea. By the way, we do this thing called stunts where there's no point just talking about something. I think there are an infinite number of podcasts. We should try and create something, right? In every episode, we try to create something. I know we did some stuff with the Wonder Dynamics thing here, but for the next episode, we will use Unreal Engine. We will put, let's say, 5 AI agents inside. Okay, we'll give them with Unreal Engine. You can actually give them full faces, avatars, whatever. You can use MetaHuman, right? We'll allow their dialogue to be generated with GPT-4. Let's put them all in the room. Let's tell them the objective is run a company.
And just see what company they come up with.
Yeah, let's just see what they
and
come up
let's input comedian, computer scientist, etc.,
etc.
and create our own Avengers.
Yeah, put everyone.
Fintech expert and we'll put Weber from Better also in it, saying someone will capital as well.
Yeah.
And see what happens.
And then the question is, and then we live stream it. We don't know what happens. Just put it on Twitch. Okay, and we'll say, and we'll train everyone on like the using Weber now is good because they have like large Twitter feeds.
Yeah.
So just be like, learn from this Twitter feed. I want you to be like this guy. Let's see what happens.
Let's see what happens.
Just put it on a live stream.
What company do we come up with?
Yeah. Do those things come up with? And how do they do it? Because my assumption is the next step to that, the next logical step is give them access to Zapier.
Because we start executing.
Yeah, let them execute. Give them AutoGPT. See what happens.
That'll be insane. That'll be nuts.
Most likely they'll come up with malware.
Okay, got it. Next slide. Oh, fuck. It's already here. GPT plugged into a robot and someone did this and got the robots to do push-ups
Track around in a
and
square.
walk around.
Wow, a square? Never done that before.
Is
What
nice.
cutting edge geometry discoveries you've made.
What do you
Bro,
think?
this is insane. This is built on a Raspberry Pi, right?
I don't know what this is built on, but yes, you can do it with the Raspberry Pi. I've told you the problem with the Raspberry Pi. If you remember, the last time Tanmay came home, I was talking about the Raspberry Pi. It's got this breadboard, like you got to use Raspberry Pis with breadboards, right? And I keep forgetting pin numbers, okay? So which pin do you put it in is like a big challenge. And if you can just tell GPT that, hey, I've got a Raspberry Pi and we tried this experiment, give it 2 motor wheels or buy the motor wheels, and it'll also tell you what parts you need to buy. Motor wheels, a vision sensor, and then tell it be a vacuum cleaner or do this or do that. It'll tell you what parts to buy. It'll also give you the code. We tried this, right? We got the code. Maybe you can show it.
My first thought when I see this is, this is like we're going to replace pets immediately.
Yeah.
Like that's like an immediate use case. Like how much further are we from a skin on top of this to become a pet?
I am incredibly worried about a pet that can lie.
That can lie.
Yeah.
Pets lie anyway.
No, they lie, but a talking, walking pet that can lie about its true intentions, which GPT can, worries me. I would not want a super intelligent being with legs in my house or wheels or whatever.
Fair.
I would not want it in my house.
I mean, then you shouldn't have called me over. All right. This is just week 1 of the podcast. If you guys enjoyed it, let us know what you thought in the comment section. Drop some ideas. Let's start doing stuff.
Yeah.
From the next episode. There's like 15 ideas that have come out on this one. I'm excited to see what you guys come up with. Let us know what you want us to discuss on the next episode.
Yeah, and make sure you like, share, subscribe,
Like, share,
etc.
subscribe, etc. Like,
New channel, yaar, karo yaar.
just do it. Just like. And if someone replies to your comment, it's not GPT, it's probably one of us.
Yeah.
See you on the next step.
Bye.